Hey folks, back in the much more unknown days of Tears of the Kingdom, way back when we knew it as simply just Breath of the Wild 2, series producer Eiji Aonuma said that this sequel was going to be dark. In a similar way to how Majora's Mask was a much darker sequel to Ocarina of Time, there was always a little vibe of this since the initial 2019 reveal trailer, but in my honest opinion, the truly dark, edgy, and chilling vibes of this game were not properly cemented until the final game trailer dropped earlier this week. Not only did we get a further look at the returning King of Evil Ganondorf's attack on Hyrule, but we got a much better look at the troubles Princess Zelda is going to be going through. Ever since the very first trailer, and then in later trailers, fans have been theorising and speculating on what happens to her. From the extreme, such as her potentially dying, to the less extreme, such as her being trapped in the underground or some sort of unreachable place that Link will need to get to. There have been many different approaches to how Zelda's story will play out, and this final game trailer has shed even more light on the topic, but yet has made it so much more mysterious. In today's video, I'm going to go over a few different theories and ideas for how her story could pan out and end with which one I think is the most likely, and essentially what I am now predicting to be the case. A final, this is what I think, before the game releases in under a month. If you're new here, subscribing would be massively appreciated as I'm trying to reach my current goal of 200,000 subscribers. Join the Discord if you haven't already, and of course, be sure to go and grab yourself a snack or drink and send them in to get featured right here. And let's get into this one. To clarify before getting right into the depths of this storyline, all of these theories and ideas rely on certain storyline aspects playing out in a particular way. The story is, for the most part, purely speculative right now, so for each theory discussed, I won't go massively into their individual story implications, as they are honestly just minor little changes, and rather playing on the assumption that the story fits for the idea anyway. Generally anyway. At some points it will of course be necessary to discuss. The first theory I'd like to discuss is the idea of Zelda actually being saved here, rather than falling to her presumable death. She would actually be saved via sacred powers, teleported away from the situation and to safety. This idea stems from the golden glow we see in the final game trailer, as we get our longest cut of this scene. Nintendo put a very big focus on getting this scene specifically in our heads, as almost every single trailer has shown us a part of it, dating back to 2019. It's clear that this is a big moment. Now, we know Zelda does have abilities like this within her. In Breath of the Wild, it took until a very dire last-second situation for her to be able to find it within herself. Much like this scene, I think it's possible that something similar is happening here. This is definitely a life-threatening moment, and I'd honestly go as far to say as her hope may have been lost the second her and Link's hands didn't lock tightly to save her from falling. As Link watches on, he must think she is gone. But little does he know, the glimmer of gold we see is some sort of sacred power kicking in and teleporting Zelda elsewhere. Somewhere sacred. Somewhere safe. But she didn't know she had that ability until it was needed, much like in Breath of the Wild. This would also line up well with her saying that Link must find her. She is dressed very sacred and unlike anything we've seen before, as well as located somewhere very new, likely in relation to the Sky Islands, perhaps even in a different time frame. However, we'll touch on that much more in depth later on in the video. If this is the case, that she doesn't die at all, but rather is saved by a form of sacred power, then that opens up her character in a sense of what other sacred powers does she possess, but just doesn't know it yet. I'd also consider the possibility of the power here being from this new figure, but it would appear that this character has more to do with the hand in Link. Another detail to consider in this idea is that we've seen Link next to a golden orb, presumably on a sky island. Could this be Zelda? In some form? A form where Link hasn't found her yet, but is in the process of doing so. It's very possible, but there are other possibilities to discuss as well. Another theory that, whilst admittedly I do find less likely, but interesting regardless, is the idea of Zelda actually dying from this fall and going on to become a spirit. Similar to how in Twilight Princess we could meet people as spirits, trapped in an alternative version of the world, there has even been a very light hint at this with these mysterious blue flames which resemble the spirits in Twilight Princess, but that is purely speculation. So Zelda falls to her death. Yes, she dies, but rather than that being the end of her story in this adventure, she becomes a spirit, and that is where having to find her comes from. She moves to a spirit realm and is trapped there. It would be somewhere much like Hyrule as Link knows it, but an alternative version of it, a land of spirits. Going back to the Golden Orb scene here, this could still be Zelda, but as a literal spirit, helping Link to find a way to save her or restore her. It doesn't really explain why we see the golden glimmer this early, however, as she clearly isn't dead here and is just falling, which is honestly why I doubt this one the most, but it is a very interesting idea. This next theory isn't actually from me, rather another Zelda-focused creator, Limcube. You may know him for his speedruns and live streams, or for his other channel, Limcube Plus. We had a little call the other day as he wanted to discuss an idea he'd thought of, and man, I'm glad we talked. His whole idea is insanely cool, and I am honestly on board with it being a strong possibility. He has a tweet going into it, which I've linked below, but I'm going to go into some of the stuff we talked about in our short call. The basis is that when Zelda falls down here, she would essentially die in this time frame. However, she would also fall into the distant past, explaining why we see this little glimmer here. That is her travelling to the past. The reason for this is that so she doesn't die entirely, which could even be some form of sacred power. Again, making sure she cannot truly die. The Master Sword in this scene is seen to have been dropped by Link. In this theory, the blade goes with Princess Zelda. It is brought into the distant past. Now, you could argue, how would it fall if Link dropped it before jumping? Fair enough. Well, a couple of possible answers to that is that we can see the ground clearly breaking up into pieces. It could have easily fallen down. That, or where Link drops it, which is right next to the edge of the hole Zelda falls down, it has just enough momentum to bring it with them. An important detail to note here is that the blade is damaged at this point. Zelda would be bringing the damaged Master Sword with her. So she's now in the ancient past, whilst in Link's time frame, she is dead. Jump to this scene here at the end of the final game trailer. The idea with what is going on here is that this is Zelda in the ancient past, sitting on what would be her grave in the time frame that Link is in. Now, bear with me as time jumps are extremely confusing, and honestly I am confused, but in a good way. Now this location here appears to actually be the exact same one as right here. The dragon heads are the same, as well as the centerpiece, which we are assuming is a grave. However, in this shot where Zelda is calling out for Link to find her, it is on the surface. However, in this shot, the current time frame, it is a sky island. Not just any. These are heavily speculated to be the opening/tutorial area, also being a part of what many fans think will be a significant structure in the game's opening. If we gain access to this location after the tutorial, we could be met with the ancient grave of Princess Zelda. From here, with the help of Recall, which is the symbol seen on this tear she's holding, with the Master Sword by the way, cleverly hiding the damaged part, we would begin our quest to both find Princess Zelda and repair the blade with her. There is also a chance that this person here is also Zelda, but perhaps the current time frame corpse of Zelda, once again alive thanks to Link. But that part is a little harder to portray as they aren't exactly one for one in their details. Regardless of that point, could it be that when Zelda is calling out for Link to find her that she's actually in the past? If so, it could be a big explanation as to why this platform is so low here, but up in the sky here. It's speculation. However, what if the Sky Islands were once a part of Hyrule? A part of the kingdom long ago? The ancient Kingdom of Hyrule, if you will. I mean, the islands look incredibly ancient and well tended to. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. If that theory were to be true, and personally I am on board with it being very possible, then this would be an extremely dark storyline for Princess Zelda. I mean, that's not even mentioning everything going on with Ganondorf and Hyrule, dying in the current time, but also being trapped in an ancient time. It would be lonely, confusing, and emotionally draining. There is one other possibility I'd like to share, and fun fact, this is actually a late addition to the video mid-production, as it's not something I'd really considered until scrolling through Twitter and seeing several people bring up this idea. Zelda is seen holding a tear with the symbol for recall here. It glows yellow. In this moment of falling, she is seen to have her left fist clenched. What if, in this moment, she is actually activating the recall ability and she is saved? Meaning, she might have that tear in her hand here. That would be an incredibly cool twist to how this shot has been portrayed the entire time. It's definitely a very interesting thing to consider in all of this, but it wouldn't explain everything else seen. That would remain a mystery. My mind instantly goes to all of these other shots actually being some sort of time travel, but it's so hard to say. All of these theories and ideas would be, but this one more than the others. And I'm sure there are tons of variations to the theories I discussed that could spiral into tons of different storylines. Princess Zelda's fate remains a huge mystery and one of the most intriguing parts of this game. Soon, we will know the dark fate of Princess Zelda's storyline in Tears of the Kingdom. But for now, we must wait. To conclude, no matter how Princess Zelda's story goes down, there will undoubtedly be dark themes, nail-biting moments, and a lot of emotions involved, massively amplifying her personal story that we saw in Breath of the Wild. That story was one-dimensional, in comparison to this, which is going to be insane. I know I've said it countless times in my many speculations and discussions regarding this game for the past few years, but it really is a case of time will tell. Only now, as I make this video, that time isn't all that long to wait. We are almost there, less than 30 days. Let me know what you think will happen with Princess Zelda and Tears of the Kingdom, and let's get some awesome, deep, and dark discussions going in the comments. Be sure to drop a wee like down below if you enjoyed, and also consider subscribing for more fabulous Zelda content, all the way up to release of Tears of the Kingdom and beyond. Follow my social media pages linked below to keep up to date, or send in a snack or drink full. And as always, a huge, massive, amazing shout out goes to all of my channel supporters, with a very special shout out to new member, Hatter. Thanks a ton. Your support really helps me to make these videos week in, week out, all month long, 365 days a year. If you'd like to join them and get yourself a shout out upon joining, and your name at the end of every video, then consider supporting via the links below. Thanks for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.